An ordinary woman was mockingly asked to perform on a damaged piano. Her skill then amazed everyone present. Within New York City's world of accomplished musicians, Sarah Miller remained unseen, a janitor with rough hands who lacked professional instruction. During the gathering of renowned pianists for the yearly Steinberg contest, senior judge Eleanor Whitmore directed her to a neglected piano in the corner, anticipating embarrassment. However, once Sarah's hands touched those keys, the events that followed rendered the audience silent. Sarah Miller wiped her forehead after polishing the final concert piano at Manhattan Music Academy. At 38, her formerly tender hands now bore calluses from years of maintaining the Academy's corridors. "Everything's finished, Mrs. Henderson," she announced to the aged receptionist. "Much appreciated. Remember, they're preparing for tonight's Steinberg contest. Leave before those musical prima donnas arrive." Sarah nodded, yet didn't head for the door. Her gaze wandered to the grandest concert piano, a spectacular Steinway that sparkled beneath the crystal fixtures. She quietly moved to the seat. She avoided touching the keys initially, recalling how her mother had worked at a Brooklyn jazz venue. After hours, the piano player would allow 7-year-old Sarah to experiment while her mother tallied earnings. "You possess it, little songbird," he would say. "Many dedicate their lives studying music, yet never discover what you naturally have." However, her mother fell ill. Expenses accumulated. Piano instruction disappeared. Existence became survival rather than aspirations. "I wasn't aware janitors performed music." Sarah startled. A young man in a security uniform stood at the entrance. "I'm Miguel, the new security guard." "Sarah." She rose quickly. "I should leave." "You don't need to. Perform something." Sarah shook her head. "I don't actually perform." Miguel's eyebrow raised. "Your hands suggest otherwise." "I never received instruction. Additionally, instruments like these aren't meant for individuals like me." "What type of individuals are you?" The inquiry lingered, straightforward yet penetrating. "This weekend's Steinberg contest includes a surprise entry position," Miguel stated. "They're conducting tryouts tomorrow morning." Sarah chuckled. "Certainly. I'll enter wearing my janitorial uniform." "Why not? What's the most terrible outcome?" "Public shame, mockery." "Or," Miguel responded, "the reverse." The following morning, Sarah discovered herself observing as the audition panel prepared. Applicants arrived in custom clothing, bearing leather cases. They conversed about music schools while Sarah pressed against the wall in her gray uniform. "You appeared." Miguel materialized beside her. "I'm merely observing." "Final opportunity. They're only accepting 20 candidates." Miguel retrieved a folded document. "Registration paperwork." "I lack prepared material. I don't possess sheet music." "I overheard your playing yesterday. What you performed was different." "Unprofessional," she offered. "Authentic," he corrected. Before she could reply, a disturbance captured their focus. Eleanor Whitmore, the famous pianist serving as primary judge, entered with her committee. "Final announcement for wildcard tryouts," declared the registration woman. Something constricted in Sarah's chest. Rebellion against the voice that had informed her for years that music wasn't intended for individuals who maintained floors. "Present," Sarah said, sliding her form across. "I wish to audition." "Name?" "Sarah Miller." "Your selection?" "It's original, something I created." The woman sighed. "Very well, you'll be final." Sarah joined the contestants, conscious of how misplaced she appeared. A young man sneered. "I believe you found the incorrect room. Maintenance services is down the corridor." Several chuckled, but Sarah maintained focus on the audition room entrance. "Sarah Miller," called the assistant. Rising on shaky legs, Sarah entered. 3 judges occupied a table, Eleanor Whitmore centrally positioned. Behind them, a small audience observed. "Miss Miller, it indicates you're performing an original work." "Yes, ma'am." "Your musical education?" "I'm autodidactic." Murmurs spread through the audience. "You're employed here at the Academy?" Heat flooded Sarah's face. "I'm part of the custodial team." Eleanor gestured toward the brilliant grand piano. Please continue. As Sarah lifted her hands, Eleanor cleared her throat. Actually, perhaps that instrument isn't suitable. She indicated a distant corner where an aged, upright piano stood. That one would be more appropriate. The suggestion was obvious. Eleanor didn't consider Sarah deserving of the grand piano. Sarah walked calmly to the upright piano, damaged and intentionally abandoned. I'm concerned that one hasn't been maintained, Eleanor said, not concealing her smirk. If it's too difficult, you're welcome to withdraw. No, Sarah interrupted. This piano is acceptable. Eleanor's smile grew tense. Whenever you're prepared. Sarah placed her hands on the keyboard. She closed her eyes, blocking out critical stares. She took a deep breath and began to perform. The initial notes emerged hesitantly. Someone suppressed a laugh. But Sarah didn't cease. Her left hand discovered rhythm while her right explored melody. Perhaps something more traditional, Eleanor interrupted. A Chopin etude? I don't perform Chopin, Sarah answered quietly. Eleanor approached the piano. I could demonstrate what we're seeking. She gestured for Sarah to move, took position, and began a Chopin nocturne. The message was clear. Even on this inferior instrument, a real pianist could create beauty. That's the level we expect, Eleanor said. Would you like to attempt again with a proper piece? I'd like to continue with my own composition. Sarah resumed her seat, ignoring murmurs. She began to perform. The transformation was immediate. What had started as simple melody expanded into something profound. Her hands created complex rhythms that shouldn't have been possible for someone self-taught. The old piano came alive under her touch. Notes rang with surprising clarity, as if responding to her intentions rather than physical limitations. Sarah's music told a story of struggle and perseverance. She incorporated classical structure with hints of jazz, harmonies that spoke of urban streets and late-night conversations. The composition built steadily. Sarah's hands moved with fluid precision, her body swaying as she gave herself completely to the music. Eleanor's smile had frozen. Her fellow judges watched with amazement. When Sarah reached the climax, the music soared beyond the shabby upright, beyond preconceptions that had filled the room. Every person knew they were witnessing something extraordinary. As the final chord resonated, Sarah's hands lifted. Complete silence. For 5 seconds, no one moved. Then someone began to applaud. Suddenly, the entire audience was on their feet. The applause thundered, growing stronger. Sarah remained seated, stunned by the response. Ms. Miller, that was extraordinary, the male judge spoke. Truly extraordinary. The technical complexity would challenge pianists with decades of training, yet your emotional expression, that's something that can't be taught. Where did you learn to play like that? Someone called. Sarah glanced toward the old piano. Life, she answered. I learned from life. Eleanor finally rose. Sarah Miller, the Steinberg competition welcomes you as this year's wildcard finalist. Fresh applause erupted. Eleanor approached Sarah privately. You performed on that old piano as if it were a Steinway. It deserved the opportunity to be heard. Eleanor studied her. Perhaps we both made errors in judgment. If you'd like, I could offer guidance, not to alter your style, but to help prepare you. Sarah smiled. I'd appreciate that. Sarah Miller, the custodian with calloused hands and no formal training, had just changed the music world's perception of what was possible. And more importantly, she had changed her own.